Hola, ¿cómo estás? Linda. Nam Yoho Om. I'm at the building, the warehouse, La Abuelas de Casa, that I'm trying to turn into La Abuelas de Casa, the warehouse building. And so I've just been meditating heavily and just being, right? Because, well, I also try to go out and do stand-up comedy, and I'm a no-namer, so they didn't take me. So I literally, they tried to first enforce me to wear a face mask. And so I pretty much was like, no, thank you. I'm tying you up with all of the extra face masks that I found on the ground. And so that's what I literally did in my mind, because I practice Buddhism, Buddhahood. So, we try to practice peace. And so that's what, I did it in my mind, you know what I'm saying? Because we can't literally do it to them. I mean, we could, because even practicing Buddhism, you still have urges, or, you're still human. So, just because you go and relapse, or, you shout at someone, or you go and meditate, doesn't mean that you're not going to still lose your cool, or you're not going, because it's all a journey, right? It's a practice. And so, in my mind, when they're trying to enforce me, because I'm a no-namer, to put on a face mask like I was some diseased, peasant, because of their beliefs, right, and brainwashing of, these falsehoods and these lies within this system, right, which is why I'm so avid about my YouTube channel outlet. I don't care if I just reach 5 people in my podcast, or just one person, as long as I'm able to speak the truths and live my truths and spread that, right, and to awaken the light and the resilience and the activation within each person. Even if it's just one person at a time, that one person is going to reach the next wave. That one person might reach 100 people. So that's, that's all that counts for me, is as long as they're sharing and awakening to these truths. Right. And so the moment that because we're eternal beings, right? And we have to remember this, because as soon as our beliefs are like our puppet masters, okay? Our beliefs are literally what moves us, and gets us to move forward in life, or it hinders us. So it serves us, or it's a disservice. And we have to remember this. And so as soon as we start telling ourselves that we lie to ourselves, or have been lied to about dying, when we don't die, we literally don't die, okay? So we're here mentally. Everything is an illusion. And we're here in this physical aspect having a human experience, right? So we incarnated into this matrix, like the avatars going to sleep, the movie Avatar. And they would come and be in these forms to have these experiences, right? This is how other beings are able to feed off of our fears, because we fell asleep under this veil, at our higher level, incarnating. We agreed at a higher level to go through karmic lessons and experience to learn them, to come full circle, but also to be put under these veils and spells to fall asleep to who we truly are, because that's part of the matrix, right? And so we agreed to this. And so in doing that, this is why my higher self, for some reason, would not let me just go away from the streets, right? Because my mom was like, Linda, what are you doing? You're not some thug. You're a thug, man. You're a thug. And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. The streets are calling me, and so I could not help it. And so I got in trouble with the law, intentionally, unintentionally, because of the system. And I knew I was bucking the system, but I wasn't trying to be defiant just to be like, F the system. I was doing it because my higher self was leading me to, right? Divine source creator was awakening me, shaking me, like Talladega Nights, shake and bake, baby, shake you awake, baby, shake you awake, is what I think they really meant. And so that is what I've been trying to do, is shake myself awake. And I've been doing it, because I have a seeking spirit. So I've really been doing this by myself physically against all odds, you know what I'm saying? And with, of course, my faith, everything that I believe in, right? Faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. And that's literally what I've been doing, is living, eating, breathing, sleeping, practicing faith obsessively, right? Because you have to be obsessed with your self-love, your self-care, your faith, your everything you believe in, right? So it's not enough to just go to church and tithe and pay money, because that's why, churches don't have any power of the lands anymore. That's why everything is losing control, because churches became monetized. They became corporations, where they're making Atlanta. I went and looked at their paperwork. They have it posted in some paper in some churches how much they make each year as a corporation, and some are making almost $500,000. And yet there's no feeding the community. They don't have anything open. They're not open 24/7 for people to find rest and reprieve, right? And stuff like that during these times. And that's what faith is. Faith is gonna give you peace, shelter, everything that you need when you need it, exactly when you need it, right? And so that's what I've been doing, is practicing. And I practice the Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo. But then the Om, as you can tell, it makes you vibrate, right? So it also shakes your chakras clear. The Om is the feminine energy. So I don't really go by the Bible anymore as I've started to awaken, only because it's become monetized, right? They've written it over and over so many times that it's become monetized, and it's from this person's view or that person's view. And like most of the prophets would be drinking wine. So you can't really believe them because you start to become possessed. That's why wine and alcohol, in particular, alcohols are called spirits, because your higher self leaves and other spirits come upon you, right? And so you're possessed. And so when somebody else is drinking wine and they're writing spiritual, philosophical scriptures, you can't really believe what they're saying sometimes, right? And so that's why it's become monetizations, because other beings were possessing them, right? In order to, I mean, who watches Star Trek? Me. I'm a big fan of Star Trek since I was a kid, right? So that was my higher self as I was a kid, untainted by the world, telling myself, watch Star Trek. This was you. This is the future in the past. Past, present, future exist simultaneously at the same time, right? Because this is an illusion. So as I was watching Star Trek, you have to watch for the synchronicities, the signs from your higher self, not from books and stuff like that. But as you start to resonate with yourself, each is a valid path, right? But it's going to lead you all to the same thing, lead us all to the same thing. And so essentially Star Trek has like this thing where, because Richard Nixon, the president Richard Nixon, he actually signed a treaty or some business document with aliens in whatever year, and Star Trek actually documented this in a film. I think it was a movie, either a movie or a TV series. Look into it. And it was in the 1970s, maybe it was in the 70s. And he actually signed a treaty or pact or whatever business agreement with aliens. And on the documentation, because most films and productions are usually based off of some bit of truth, whether they say based off a true story or not, they have taken some pieces of the truth and put it in there. And so there was a part where some of the aliens were like, oh my God, they're buying cancer sticks, and they're buying all these things. They're buying the stuff that's killing them. They'll buy anything. Oh. And so then they're thinking like of what else they could sell to us, right? And I mean, I see a scam and a cover-up now more than ever, right? Because I used to be gullible and naive. You guys are aspects of me. I am you. You are me. We are one. That's why, now, you're going to see I'm the future aspects of yourselves, that when you sit and be, shout out to Matt, because you know what I'm talking about. When you just sit and be in your nothingness, you're everything. And the system knows that, right? And so all the people that are like me, that are star seeds, that have a higher mission, a higher purpose, not to work no man job and be enslaved. Look, talking about aliens, Anunnaki were the originals, right? The originals that after we evolved as far as we could evolve, the Anunnaki came, and then they spliced our genetics, and then they enslaved us in order to, be their slaves, to mine for gold, okay, and for minerals and resources. And so we've all come full circle. Even the Anunnaki have had to reincarnate into this matrix. Sorry, my face is so oily. I had to put on some coconut oil because I used some rattlesnake soap for my acne, and then I had to put on some coconut oil to moisturize it if it looks oily. But anyway, so the Anunnaki, they enslaved us to get minerals and gold for them, and now even full circle into the matrix, the Anunnaki had to reincarnate and go through this full circle cycle in order to see what it feels like to be enslaved. So we have all become enslaved, and now we're awakening, right? So that's why a lot of people with the Anunnaki genes, like some of us, we are now ancestors to other alien beings that are trying to help us awaken, right? But then there are still other aliens that are still trying to feed on our ignorance and keep us asleep in order to keep this going. So we have to awaken to these things and stop competing with each other, and really unite, U-N-I-T-Y, unite so we can stop buying anything, right? I mean, even the aliens are laughing at us, you guys. They are laughing at us like, oh my God, they'll buy anything. Like, seriously. They see we're buying tobaccos. They see we're buying alcohol. They see we're buying drugs. We're even going to doctors that put us on drugs. And we're doing this willingly. So that's what keeps us under the veil and the spell. And then the other aliens are able to feed off of our fear and manipulation and control and lies. You know what I'm saying? That's why the face mask came out, right? And a lot of people know. They're like, I mean, I sense a cover up when I see one, a scam now that I meditate, because I get headaches when there's lies. I get blockages when I'm forced to wear face masks because I know that we're wearing them and they're lies. They're cover-ups. Even just like the vaccines, Bill Gates is being sued by people now that have been traumatized in other countries by these and messed up by these vaccines. And come on, people, think about it. Really think, bright divine beings. If they're saying that it's mutated because they're doing unnatural things to cover up their illegal activities, they're going to put you in fear to make you go get tested. They're going to say it's COVID when it's not, but yet it's mutated. You know how many times it's mutated now because it's unnatural what they're trying to do, and nature is trying to balance it out, and the guardians of life and nature are trying to balance it out and save us and get them, right, bring us to justice. And so they're trying to place more fear. And so these are the things that are happening. And so COVID, they're saying it's mutated 2 or 3. It should be COVID 35 now, not COVID-19. And they're still trying to put COVID-19 vaccinations out. So think about that. Really think, people. Think. If it's already supposedly mutated, why would you need a COVID-19 vaccine? It's just like the flu. You don't need flu vaccines because they're injecting the flu to you. So if people are out there like enforcing this, or attacking you because you're not doing it, they're probably alien beings feeding an alien agenda to suppress us, because there are a bunch of smart beings, despite what they try to regulate on false news and control, censorship of what you can see. Because there's been many times when I try to get on, the phone and share particular information or knowledge with people, and it won't pull up on their phone. It won't pull up. Even if I send them the link to their phone, it won't pull up. You're just like, wow, that's kind of interesting. So each phone and each being is censored depending upon, the network or what you watch or on your phone and your device. So we have to be aware. And the more that you start to awaken to these truths, you have to live these truths. Otherwise, they're going to continue to feed on that. And they're going to feed the separation in you and the fear when it's not really so. There's a lot of people awakening, which is why my journey is I go out into the world and I connect with people to show people there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. When you really have faith and believe in it and walk and talk and live faith, there's nothing to fear. You really have to believe in something higher than yourself. You have to relinquish ego. Like, that's why, like, when I went out to the comedy club and the people were like, I put on a face mask. Who are you? We're not taking no namers. Like, it was a lot nastier attitude than that. And then I was like, oh yeah, I clearly remember why I got out of the entertainment industry now. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to deal with egos and shallowness and, oh, your name. Well, who cares what my name is? The message, and if I'm funny and I can get on and have content that actually means something, to teach truths and find it in a comedic way. That's what's funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, not trying to sit there and talk about who I am. Like, I'm like, well, who's on tonight? Oh, so-and-so. Well, I don't know them. So, they're a no-namer to me. You know what I'm saying? It's all perspective of what you believe and perceive. I know a bunch of no-namers or not popular comedians online that I watch all the time, and they're hilarious. I die laughing. And then I'll go and see one. They're like, oh, somebody will recommend, oh, you gotta watch such and such. And this popular, has a lot of views, or a big name, big namers. And I'll watch it, and they're not funny. They're not talking about nothing, right? It's like going down the street and going to a fancy restaurant that's gonna rip you off, and you get like a small little spoon portion, and it's, oh, the presentation, and it's got a little, parsley, and it's got a little spoon thing, and you're just like, what is this? And it's like $100, but it's like, but it's beautiful. It's the presentation. It's, oh, everybody knows this restaurant. And then you eat it, and then it's like nasty, you know what I'm saying? But it's cooked. Preparation is key because they've got $1 million chef in the kitchen. But it's just like, oh, I can't believe I spent all that money for a little spoonful of a perfectly cooked spoonful taste. you know? And then you'll go to like a hole in the wall where nobody's heard of this restaurant, and it like somebody's grandma literally put her foot in it, and you're like, you know, and you get a big portion for not much, you know what I'm saying? It's almost free and compared to being ripped off by something else. So we have really lied to ourselves, people, when we think the quality of something is in the brand name, because we have, you know, been desensitized and these veils and spells. Like, you know, there's a reason why man law says no loitering, no dwelling, no, you know, no homeless squatting and stuff like that, because there's a reason. The aliens have made it to where they know if we sit and be, that we're going to find out we're everything in our nothingness, right? And then we won't be able to feed their system. And that's what they don't want. So that's why they have created laws against it, right? So that's why all the people, all my homies that were once rebels with a cause, they're like, FTS, fuck the system. Now they're all like, I ain't going, man. I'm going to go to prison. I'm going to go to jail if I loiter. I'm going to go to, you know, now they got fear. Now they got doubt. Now they got, you know what I'm saying? Like now they're not as resilient. Now they're not as fearless. Now they're not, you know, as resilient. Now they're not going to buck the system, right? And that's exactly what they want. There's a reason why when criminals, they say criminals go away. When we go away for a few years and we start to get younger because we're tapping into that youthfulness. There's a reason why when you sit and be, you start to become younger. Look, ever since I stopped feeding a man job for about 3 to 5 years now, look how much younger I am. I'm about to be 36 years old, people. I'm about to be 40 years old. Look at me, you know, and I be talking to people that are younger than me from their 20s to early 30s, still younger than me, and they have gray hair. They're losing their hair. They're getting old. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're weared out, just like the people that go to prison. They're younger, they're more youthful, they didn't have to worry about these things. But the system and places more rules and regulations on them to put them in fear, to put them in their place, to make them feel that they're nothing, right? That they're criminals, that they're the bad guys. So they put them on more rules, regulations, more payments, more enslavement. So when they get out, they have probation, parole to report to pay. That, you know, they've got you talking to girls that are going to put you on child support to enslave you more to their system. When this is a matrix system, everybody that's reincarnating ain't our kids. They're our kids, but they're not our kids. You know what I'm saying? They're some friend or family from another life that vowed to follow us. Okay, that's why our children coming in behind us are even more resilient, because they're uncorrupted by the system. There's a reason why babies, when they come into the system new, and we as adults are like, oh my God, they're so pure and sweet, and I love them, and because they're untainted and uncorrupted by this effed up system. You guys, like, think about it. And so we have to awaken to this, because, you know, we're sitting here implementing things like my FTS friends are like, oh man, I know the truth, girl, but you know, it ain't gonna happen. You know, it's not gonna happen. I mean, I can pull away from the system just a little bit. A little bit don't count. If you know what it is, like, you got to pull away as much as you can, and then we have to start changing the system. Because once they see everybody pulling away from the system, because guess what, baby? It only takes one person, you. Each individual person doing something about it, each individually themselves. And when each person starts to awaken to do this, guess what? The system is changing. That's all it takes is one person, you. So when you know the truth, you have to live that truth. And that's what's happening. Other people are, you know, despite those people that are in denial or doubt or fear because the system has made them that way. But I have to let you know, this is why my journey, I've been on the streets getting comfortable in my nothingness, because I've awakened. I've tapped into my Buddha nature. That's why I harp and preach. You got to find a meditation, whether it's one liver, one kidney, something to spark that Buddha nature inside of you, because we are eternal beings. So you've got to tell yourself stop telling yourself that you die. Stop telling yourself that you're in prison. These are old past lives that put you in fear. So when you thought you died, those are still in your DNA. You got to clear them away. We don't die. Okay. We don't die. We live eternally. That's why back in the day, they used to live till 900, because they knew the truths, right? And then it put all these poisons, cigarettes and alcohol and drugs, street drugs and pharmaceuticals in their body, right? I mean, eventually they're all valid paths, right? It's going to lead you back to a pure life. But essentially, you know, you have to awaken up. Stop buying everything. Stop buying cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, street drugs, or pharmaceuticals, because then you're going to buy anything. You're going to buy anything, and the aliens are going to be laughing like, we can put them in the face mask, and they're going to believe the lies. They're going to believe our cover-up. I mean, it's a metaphor. Think about it. Face mask, cover-up required. I'll wait. Let that sink in. Face mask, cover up required. Covering required. It's a cover up. It's a metaphor. Wake up, people. Wake up, other aspects of myself. I love you guys. Wake up. So these are the truths, and we have to start realizing this. So when you stop buying these poisons outside of yourselves, you'll stop believing anything and everything, and then fooling yourselves like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go and, they're paying me. We fooled ourselves to think that, we've been enslaved. We have earned it, people. We've earned it. We've been slaves since the beginning of time, digging for gold and reincarnating into a system that keeps allowing us to work. And it's like we should have our own lots of lands now, free and clear. Okay, we are the banks. The banks are the debtors. We're the creditors. This is our bank. This is our temple. We're in debt because the real debtors have fooled us, and we've allowed them to become the creditors. So they've stole from us, and we foolishly have allowed them to sell things back to us. And we know it, and we're still going to a system and feeding a system where we're going outside of ourselves to support this system. So if you know that, you have to start pulling away. So kudos to you, Matt, for doing that. Kudos to you, my other friends that might still be on drugs, because your higher self knows you have a higher purpose, but you're still sitting and being in your nothingness. So now the next step is you've got to find some sort of meditative thing for you in order to awaken and go within yourself, right? Because the more you start to awaken, the less you're going to need outside of yourself. Like I start to take this powder now. It's a detox, digestion, green superfoods, right? So I drink a scoop or two of this in water 3 times a day. So it's got like all kinds of fruits and veggies in it. I'm talking to like barley, wheatgrass, spinach, alfalfa, spirulina, chlor something, kiwi, pineapple. It's got a whole bunch of different stuff in it. And then next week on my food stamps, so I use food stamps to eat. And so essentially I'm gonna get like seeds and stuff like that and start making my own garden so I can be sustainable. I'm gonna literally wean off the government until the system starts changing for us. Okay, so that's the point. It's not just to be like, oh, okay, well, you're doing all these things, so then what next? It's not that we're just going to start, living off the land unless we have to, right? Because you have to live like you're capable of that anyways, in case the power goes out, in case we have a zombie apocalypse, because that's essentially what we're becoming, zombies, the more we start to feed these lies, okay? So that's why a lot of people are like, oh, well, I know that these face masks are lies, but I'm just gonna be complacent. Oh, where's your face mask? Where's your face mask? Where's your face? Right? So, and that's what happens is we start to dumb ourselves down. The more we be complacent, the more we be obedient to something that we know is not right, that we know are lies, that we know aren't truths, you become a zombie. You put yourself in that state, other halves of me. You start to do these things. So you have to start pulling away from it. Everything that you thought was not okay is okay. Everything, you have to start changing your beliefs, the puppet masters, the things that serve you or are disservice to you. You have to awaken. Okay? So these things will change the moment you start to change. Each individual person. You cannot change the system. You're not going to even believe you or perceive you can, right? And your belief is going to make you be, well, I'm a realist. No, you're really being narrow. You're really being, and it's valid for you now, but it's not serving you, okay? So the point is to get it to serve you. How does that serve you? How are you progressing? Are you progressing with that belief? Is it serving you? Or is it hindering you from going within yourself? So everything that we do, despite the foods are what's going to get us to, start activating our crystalline body, right? Turning our body into a crystalline temple. And so we'll be able to, have higher frequencies, tap into our higher selves, tap into the whole consciousness at a higher, lighter density. And so that's what essentially these veggies and fruits and powders and stuff does for me as I start to meditate and become more awake and aware of truth. And so I start to feed them to you guys, and we have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why, like, being in our nothingness always, you know, attracts abundance, is because you're free, right? You're free-minded, you're free-spirited. Not everybody that's, you know, not in a stable home, because that's what we've tricked ourselves into being. And each home is just a cell. You're paying rent and enslaved to a cell. We should have a lot of land that is ours now. We should have that. We've lived many lives. They have 401k, Social Security, where it's like, oh yeah, this person is working. We really lied to ourselves. Oh, this person is getting it. They're hustling. They got 10 and 4 jobs. I had 3 jobs one time, and look at this, you guys. I fell asleep at the wheel trying to buy a car for the holidays, trying to get my son, trying to compete with his dad, trying to buy my son the best, baddest Christmas presents, knowing damn well my son was just going to throw those toys away and not even look or think twice about the money that I spent working 3 and 4 jobs, trying to compete with his dad and grandparents, trying to get him everything, right? Because we're in separate households. So it's just like, why are you really doing what you're doing? Think about it. Why are you pursuing it when people are like, I gotta get that money, I gotta hustle. If I don't hustle, I ain't shit. Yeah, I ain't gotta do this, I'm gonna be codependent. That's not necessarily true. You're not gonna be codependent on somebody just because you're not working. I'm not codependent on nobody. Matter of fact, most times when people be like, oh, you're so destitute, I'm gonna give you some money. I'm like, I don't need no money. You know what I'm saying? Unless they're like really avid and they're like here, and I'm thinking like, okay, I could use some tampons or pads or something, or, you know, something for the building that I need for, you know, for the time, because I'm using the building for my sanctuary right now, my safe haven, and I've allowed other people to come. And then, you know, some of the people are still lying or not wanting to, they practice meditation a little bit, but they're still lying, and then they're still on drugs or smoking cigarettes, and I don't allow that in here, right? Because I awaken to the truth. And shout out to my friends that are gonna be like, damn, she's not dealing with people that smoke cigarettes either, because there was a point where somebody wanted to date me, an actor, you know, he played on the House of Pains, and he was gonna date me, but because I smoked cigarettes, he couldn't date me. So if I quit cigarettes for him, he would have dated me. And I'm just like, who the hell does he think he is? Trying to, you know what I'm saying? And now I see, I mean, I still, you know, it happened how it was supposed to happen. But point being is, I mean, he was doing it for my higher self, but the way he stated it is, you know, he used his fame and his name to be like, well, if you don't quit cigarettes, then I can't be with you. But in the phase of my life, I had to go through what I was going through in order to awaken how I had, which is why every path is valid, which is why people doing drugs is valid. Okay, you have to go through what you're going through in order to awaken. So you're not a crackhead, you're not an addict, you're right where you are when you need to be, and hopefully it leads you to me in order for me to tell you that you're perfectly whole and perfect just the way you are, and nothing outside of yourself is going to compare to the beauty that's within yourself. Shout out to Levi, because Levi, you know what I'm talking about going within what we need, what's within you guys, to tap into that potential, that light, that essence, those gifts. Nothing outside yourself, not $1, not 1 ounce of your hour enslaved to a man job of OT, being like, yeah, man, I got OT. They pay me just to sit around, dude. None of that is cool. None of that is enough. None of that, it pales in comparison. It pales in comparison to your essence within you. And we need you each to tap that, right? So we've got to stop competing. We've got to unite so we can collaborate and co-create. Because, right, Levi? Shout out. And so the more we're competing with other people, the more insecure we are, the more jealous we are. And these are all dense vibrations and feelings that we've got to relinquish, insecurities, okay, which could create competition. So we've got to stop competing, right? This is why the aliens are laughing at us. And so we've got to really come together, okay? And so I think that's why I'm also having a revelation on that vibration 7, which is a full circle, in order to teach and heal. And that's why I've been able to do this physically by myself, because I've not been by myself. I've been really attached to the etheric realm, the spiritual realm. So I've been having like a lot of guidance from ascended masters and ancestors, and actually a lot of us are actually ancestors and originals for some of the Greys and some of the other aliens that spliced our DNA, which is why they're helping us and helping me tremendously, because some of us, people my age, we're the OGs. We are the ancestors. We are the inheritance. We are the new generation of leaders. And so that's why there's a lot on us, right? That's why sometimes it feels like mom and dad haven't been right. They've just been like, oh, well, they're not getting in trouble anymore. They're not going to jail, so they're doing good. But that's not it, right? That's not it. Your higher self is telling you there's something more, okay? So I love my mom to death, but they've been in this system longer, so they're sicker, right? They've become more accustomed to the system, so they're sicker. So the more that we are feeding the system, then in their eyes, the more we're doing better, right? But we're here to change the system, okay? So I'm not being this weirdo that's like living in a building to serve the people for no reason. I'm living in a building to be the example for you guys, and family and ancestors are helping me, guide me to do this, right? Because I've been doing this physically by myself, right? And trying to help other people on top of being attacked by them while I'm trying to help them. And because they're sick, we have a lot of ancestral curses, a lot of karmic, patterns upon us. So even if you've lived 9 lives, 3 of them might have been good, but, the other 6, you could have killed a lot of people. I know, I've resonated. I resonate with Adolf Hitler past life. I resonate with Queen Elizabeth, Virgin Queen Elizabeth. I resonate with a couple Elizabeths, actually. There was a Catholic Elizabeth I resonate with. I resonate with Lilith. I resonate with Nichiren Daishonin, the 17th century Japanese priest sage of his time. I resonate with, so that's 5. There's different people that I resonate with. And so think about it. If I resonate with Adolf Hitler, I mean, good Lord, you know what I'm saying? But now I'm on a good path this life, right? So that life, he was really trying to do a good thing, okay? So there's generals underneath him, and he was also on meth, and which is why I was on meth this lifetime too. So you'll see the karmic patterns, and you'll have to start to awaken to them, right? But I'm also on a female Christ consciousness journey now, right? So that's like one of the 7th lives that I'm on right now. And so once it's a balance. So it's like taking one life and saying, okay, well, we'll help you overcome, the guides and guardians. They're saying we'll help you overcome these cycles and patterns and get you out of the karmic cycle. Because even Christ can be incarnated into the system and have a karmic cycle. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how dense and how the matrix is set up to have you, right? To be failing, okay? And so that's why we are here, because we don't want our seeds. We don't want our ancestors and what's going to precede us, right? Which will be these beings that are helping guide me. They're not going to want us, you know what I'm saying, to not be succeeding, because we have to set the ground level work foundation for them to succeed and flourish after us, right? Whenever we pass on to the next phase. So they have to make sure that we're succeeding too, right? So there are good beings, ascended masters. I call them ascended masters. Those are the ones that are really higher in the etheric realm, that are light, love, protection for life and nature. And then there are other ascended beings that aren't masters, and they're just trying to keep us suppressed, and they feed off of our fear, illusions, lower vibrations, and negativity, okay? And so that's why we have to awaken to these truths, okay, beings, okay, divine beings, because I promise you, we have all deserved it, okay? You're not nothing if you're sitting in being. You're everything if you're sitting in being. There's a reason why babies are so pure, and they stay that way until we put them in front of all of our complaints and TVs that are advertising for toys and food and candy and all these clothes and toys outside of themselves, and campaigns and propaganda, and then we're complaining, and then they're around that, right? And then we're tainting their light, and we've put them now around negative energy and vibes and thoughts and speech and behaviors, and then we've taught them and surrounded them to go outside of themselves. And then there's a reason why when you go into seclusion, I was talking to Dale, and there's a reason why you go inward, and you're pure again. It's like you're within yourself, and you're untainted and uncorrupted by the world, and it's like you're the light again. So you have to remember these things, okay, people? So light, love, blessings, and be in your nothingness. And when you come out of incarceration, go be a homebody and really learn the truths, and stop feeding a system of enslavement, and really start finding ways to serve the people. Really just focus on being of service, right? Being of service and just being in your nothingness, right? Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing at all. And that's Matt. Shout out to Matt and your quotes and stuff like that. But also not just that, people need to practice some sort of discipline, right, in order to raise your vibration, which is meditation. So of course I'm going to suggest Om, which is Shiva and Shakti. Shiva, they're the male and female aspect of yourself, and so it's when your Kundalini rises from the base of your spine all the way up to the base of your skull, where your DMT, spiritual spirit molecule, is, and it connects and it activates and it connects you to, of course, the consciousness, the whole consciousness. And then it activates all of your other chakras once they become open and cleared. And so then you're like this flowing balls of energy. And so just awaken to your truths. Do Om. Nam Yoho Renge Kyo helps get rid of the fundamental darkness and delusions. It's made me very self-aware. It's helped with guardianship. Sho Tenzin, the protective forces of life and nature that serve to protect me and enhance me and gently guide me as I deepen my faith and practice in the Lotus Sutra. So Nam Yoho Renge Kyo is one that I chant often. So I chant about 1 hour to 3 hours in the day, and then 30 minutes to an hour, and sometimes 3 in the evening. So it depends, right? So it's really, you have to be obsessed with your own self-care, like I said. So just get into these things and these patterns, these new patterns of just being, right? And then you'll start to see, just like when you're in high school or elementary school, when you just sat and bead, and you weren't trying to go outside of yourself, then you're going to start to change and heal the lands around you. And then you'll start to notice what you're reflecting back is a totally different self-image, right? Or reality or beings around you, because they're going to be healed. You're going to start attracting more healed people. You're going to start attracting people that think and speak and behave just like you in a newer way. And so just because you repel other people does not mean you don't love them or care for them. It just means that they're at a different phase of their journey and is valid for them. It's just not valid for you at your time, okay? You might not resonate, just like chemistry, where, like attracts like and opposites repel, but most people are like, oh, opposites attract. No, not always, not necessarily. Scientifically, chemistry-wise, no, opposites don't attract, opposites repel, right? When you put two magnets together that are the same, they attach. If they're opposites, they repel, no matter how hard you try to force it. You know what I'm saying? Like oil and vinegar, it does not mix. So once you start behaving in a, newer belief systems that serve you, your eternal beings that need to be free and sovereign, you have to realize the truths. There are particular reasons why there are laws that try to suppress us and keep us in the dark about who we are. And we have to come to awaken to this, because now even some people are now in place in the government that can assist us in changing these things. But you have to meditate. It's all spiritual, right? It's all faith-based. So I'm going to leave it here. Om Nam Yoho Renge Kyo. Love you guys. Chant, meditate, and just be. And eat fruits and vegetables as much as possible so you can become alkaline and get rid of cancer and blockages and become less dense. And you can get your chakras going, and that'll also help bring in your truths, because everything you need is inside of you. And so anything that tries to rule and regulate you is forcing you to feed a system that is enslaving you. And now we're all full circle, and now it's time to be free and sovereign. And I promise you, just because you're not doing nothing, you're not getting up and getting it, working 2 and 3 jobs and chasing money, does not mean that you're lazy. It just means you're awakening to your higher self, and you're really trying to chase serving people, chase your higher self, chase your self-love, right? Christ walked around, he didn't go around talking about money, stacks of money. He walked around with a satchel because he knew his body was his bank, right? So that's why he didn't take anything outside of himself, like drugs and alcohol or cigarettes, right? Because then he would be robbed of his bank and then turned around and all of his resources sold to him. So he knew these truths. So we have to stop buying these poisons so that we'll stop buying anything. You know what I'm saying? Buying the lies, buying the manipulation, buying the control, buying the suppression, because it's no longer enough. You cannot know the truths and be like, well, I'm just going to be complacent. I'm just going to do it so I don't stir up any controversy. But that's how you stay asleep. That's how they enforce more rules and laws. That's how, other people get into the government to suppress us more, because we're just laying down and taking it, okay? It's like somebody's doing something, you're not doing anything back. Sometimes you don't have to fight, just like doing nothing is doing it all, right? So it's not that you're fighting them physically, but you cannot serve the businesses that are making you wear them, right? You can speak up for yourself and be like, they're lies, and then keep going on, and then you awaken them, right? Or you can go You know, because that's what the aliens are. They're, oh my God, now we've got them self-policing each other now. Look, she's cramming her with a cart to make her wear the mask. They're buying the lies, man. They're buying the lies. Look, now they're going to get more poison. Now we can jump into them. Go ahead, jump into them. Look, watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're doing these things to us. So we have to really awaken to these truths, you guys. I love you guys so much. And I just want you guys to really be free with me and sovereign, and really expand your horizons and realize that you're so much more free. And just because you wander, you're a seeker, you're seeking the truths and the wisdoms, and those you can take with you and activate in your DNA and leave to your seeds. You know what I mean? It's a day and age where you don't want your seeds left behind with all of this debt and craziness and lies and manipulation. I know I don't. And so that's what I do for. So that my son can see me being resilient and teaching him, and not living by lies and manipulation and then trying to teach him to do the same. I'm not going to have my son wear a face mask or do all these things that I know there are lies and cover-ups, right? I'm going to find the truths, and I'm going to tell him the truth, and I'm going to live the truths, and I'm going to do just that. I'm not going to lay down and just take it, and I'm not going to, I tell my son to question things that don't make sense. These don't make sense. They say 30 to 40,000 people are dying, yet Atlanta, people are so amazed by Atlanta and how much it's come up. It's busier than in New York and LA, and that doesn't shock people. People aren't dying like they say. That's false news. Stop listening to all these falsehoods and then disbelieving the truths. So I love you guys. Really start to awaken to truths and know that, you've served enough. You deserve to be free. You deserve a life of rest and healing, and you deserve it. Know that you deserve it. And I love you guys. So chew on that truth and love. Till next time. Light, love, blessings. Bye. Ciao.